Hi, this keyboard doesn't have polyphonic pressure sensors, and yet with a simple trick, we can fake one of the coolest features in some of the more expensive expressive controllers: the ability to bring a sound in and out slowly if you apply pressure gradually, and yet still at the same time play sharp transients when you want, and to do all that on a per key basis dynamically as you play. In this video, I'll show you how to fake polyphonic pressure on any MIDI keyboard, and how to transform existing presets quickly so that they respond this way to vastly expand your expressive control over their sound. For example, how to take this instrument based on a transient guitar sample and give you much more creative real-time control over how the sound evolves polyphonically, and whether notes have an abrupt and punchy attack or a slow one, and whether sounds fade in or out gradually or not. Before I start, no disclosures, except that this video is supported by the people who subscribe to my Patreon and have had access to the tips and ideas in this video and many more through my ever-expanding book. All right, let's get right to it, and I'll be demonstrating this on Vital because it's a free and awesome synth, but this trick will work just fine on pretty much any other synth hardware or software as long as the envelope attack and release times are available as a mod destination. I'll start with an init preset, just so we have a screen that's as clean as possible. So this is our raw sound, totally ignoring any expression. The first part of this trick is really simple. Just crank up the attack stage on the VCA or amp envelope to taste, then look for the velocity mod source in your mod matrix and point it to attack, but do that with a fully negative mod depth. So now the harder we hit a note, the shorter its attack, but as we gradually press into it and the longer we take, the more the keyboard interprets this as low velocity. But to us it feels like slowly applying pressure, in which case the attack will take its time. Now you can fine-tune this to set the range to taste. The longer the initial attack, the more you'll be able to drag out the swell, but the less control you'll have on the lower swell times. Note that as promised, this works polyphonically, so I can bring in one note gradually while playing other notes with a sharper transient, and vice versa. So right there, we've opened up quite a bit of expression, and this works on any MIDI keyboard. To handle the release times separately, we'll need a keyboard that detects release velocity. The Keystep 37 Mark II does, but some cheaper ones and others don't. Anyway, if it does, locate the lift or release velocity source in your matrix, and then we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll set release times to as long as we want. Let's maybe just shorten this so we see both, and then point lift to release with a negative mod depth again. So now if we lift our finger abruptly, the sound cuts off abruptly. But if we release our finger slowly, we'll get a longer decay and again set the maximum amount to taste. So like previously, we're not actually detecting the exact location of my finger across the span of the travel of the key, but it sure feels that way. So those are the basics. To spice things up a bit, the next thing you might want to do is give the sound an even more distinct transient or punch with harmonic complexity based on how you play, for example, by opening up the filter or increasing FM mod depth. So let's take, for example, the filter. I'll close it down a bit. Then take envelope 2, set sustain to low and decay to shorter. Now, if we point envelope 2 to the filter cutoff, which is how we do this, then we'll get this nice modulation. But we don't want that transient when we bring in a note gradually, only when we play quick and sharp notes. So to do that, I'll bring the mod depth down to 0. We're no longer modulating the filter directly, or almost 0. Rather, I'll take velocity and point that to the mod depth. You can do that either by dragging that over here, or if your synth has a mod matrix, find a way to point velocity to the mod depth of the envelope going to the filter. And if we go back to see this visually, you can see I do get filter modulation with sharp transients, but if I play a gradual note, there's almost no modulation. So filter cutoff is just one example, but anything increasing timbral complexity to the transient would work nicely here. For example, wavefolding, FM mod depth, tremolo mod depth, distortion, and so on. So that's nice if you want to create your own presets from scratch, but this also works great on presets you've got in your synth if you make a few small changes to them. Even on sounds you wouldn't think of as pads. So for example, let's take this AD harmonics patch here in Vital. It's sample-based, it's clearly a transient-based patch. However, like before, all we need to do is increase the attack and then control that with velocity, again, fully negative mod depth. And we can still enjoy our transient-based sound, but also use it simultaneously polyphonically as a pad. Almost like we have a regular guitar and a slide guitar in the same patch. Like before, if your keybed supports release velocity, then you can, of course, modulate that as well. Again, negative mod depth. But most importantly, there's one thing you're probably going to need to change about the patch. This might sound counterintuitive for expressive performance, but you're going to want to disable velocity sensitivity on your preset if it's turned on, because if patches are velocity sensitive, then when we play them really softly, really silently, they'll also be extremely silent relative to the transient. You'll typically find velocity sensitivity either on dedicated knobs in your synth or in the mod matrix. In Vital specifically, it's pretty easy. All you need to do is look at this box to find them. However, it's not enough to just simply delete them. So say for example here, velocity is linked to the filter cutoff. If I delete this by removing it, then the filter won't open anymore and we'll get a filtered sound. So don't just delete the mod slot, also compensate for it. Same goes for this. It's pointing to sample level, which is kindly highlighted on screen. So it's not enough to just remove this. I also need to compensate by increasing sample level. And now we've got both our loud transients and our similarly polyphonically controlled swells. So consider removing or at least reducing any velocity mods if your patch gets too quiet as you play long notes. Another quick tip to fine-tune this trick is to explore different velocity curves in your MIDI controller. For example, here, I found it more useful to use logarithmic as opposed to the default linear, and definitely not exponential. This worked best for the way I like to play. If your MIDI keyboard doesn't have velocity curve controls, your synth's mod matrix might. So that's it for this video. If you found this trick useful, you'll find literally hundreds more tips, tricks, and ideas in my ever-expanding book on Patreon. Hit like, or better yet, comment below if you found this useful. Until next time, thanks for watching.